Listen, if I don't see Wolfwood on my screen in the next 20 minutes, I'm gonna end up on the news. Okay, what you didn't see is that I just spilled a bunch of tea down my shirt and my pants, but it's all below. Yep, it's all below the frame, so we're good. First episode was serviceable. Do some exposition and get us back into the swing of things. It was not anything hugely groundbreaking, but I give it till episode 3 because in Stampede, it wasn't until episode 3 that I was really wowed. So I'll be patient with it. That opening has not grown on me though. I don't care much for it. The visuals are cool, but they just are such a mismatch, and the song is completely the wrong genre. Scrubbing through the opening didn't give me too much more information, but there were a few things that I noticed. For starters, there's a brief shot of Hoppard and Eric's fighting. So I had the fleeting thought, like, what if they're going completely different with Hoppard and they're not going to make him one of the villains and he's just going to be a tragic character instead? But I thought, no, because we saw him welding his armor bullet thing. The question remains, what is going to make him take that leap? What's going to cause him to oppose Vash? Second thing I noticed, Legato's eyes are blue, even though sometimes they glow yellow. He also has blue eyelashes, which I think is really cool. I've always believed, not that I put a bunch of thought into this, but like it just made sense to me that if his hair is naturally blue, the rest of him is also. Really fun detail there. The third thing that I noticed, although I couldn't get a very good grasp on it, but it looks like the 6-shooter that Vash is using, or that Eric's is using, it looks like a Peacemaker. The Peacemaker was the cowboy gun of like the late 1800s. It's the gun when you imagine the Wild West. I might have a model of one. Hold on. The thing about Peacemaker, though, is that it uses a much bigger caliber than Vash's 22. Something probably about twice the diameter. I will probably put up a picture of it, but I have this keychain. And I know this is a bit of a rabbit trail, but Orange doesn't usually skimp on the details. One of the calibers of a Peacemaker is the 45 long Colt, which is what Vash uses in the manga. Take a shot every time I say in the manga. And they downgraded him to a 22 for this show because it's much less lethal, but this is a 45 long Colt. A 22 would be about half this diameter, which would be a quarter of the size of one of these. So what does that say about Eric's and Vash? I don't know. We'll just have to wait and see. Good. It was Ship 3's doing. What is Jessica doing in the control room with everybody? Miracles are meant to be seized with your own hands. What does that mean? Don't count your chickens before they've hatched. Right. It's a chance. Yup, that's what I keep saying. It's a day-by-day thing. Oh, the puppets. I'm sorry to say it. Leonov the Puppet Master was the biggest flop of all the gung-ho guns in Trimax. I just found him corny and not compelling. So now is the show's chance to prove me wrong, to make some adaptational changes that'll give him a little more flavor, maybe. Brad also sent Jessica away in the manga. Very similar to Rem sending Vash and Knives away. They've even modeled that shot after the shot from the first episode of Stampede. Chapter 2, Unforgiven. I like the amount of detail they've put into Jessica's braids. You can see the parting and the detail of the braids on her scalp. Careful. Like, I don't think Hopper would do anything to hurt her at this point in time, but knowing where he's going, knowing where he is in the manga, like, this scares me, because it has to go south at some point. I'm really excited to see where they go with Hopper in this adaptation, but that means that Lena is forgotten. We saw Lena for 2 seconds at the end of Stampede, episode 12, and now she's not here anymore. So I know she exists in this canon. I know she knows Vash and has interacted with him. But she is not present here in this story as his family, as his caretaker. That has been replaced with Hopper. And I'm curious to see what they do with that, but I miss Lena and Granny. I'm sorry, women. I'm sorry you got sidelined like this. And that's just part and parcel of adapting something. If you want to change something, you sacrifice something else. Equivalent exchange. Sometimes it's not very equivalent. You know, sometimes you make something better, you drop something worse to make something better. And sometimes you change something that was good and it ends up being worse, or it just ends up just being different. I miss Wolfwood. It was Wolfwood in Trimax who got Vash out of retirement, who found Eric's and brought him his gun. And I don't want to say brought him back to life, because Eric's was living. He wasn't catatonic like this. But, you know, brought Vash back. And I just don't see this version of Wolfwood doing that. This show hasn't convinced me that their bond is tight enough yet. Manga Wolfwood was immediately enamored with Vash, tried to befriend him immediately. Wolfwood had never even had a friend before, not as an adult. And when Wolfwood met Vash, he had not yet been told that Vash was his target. He just met him and liked him and befriended him just man to man. There was no subterfuge there yet. And so when Wolfwood comes back to find Vash after the time skip, it's true that he is under orders from Knives and has been trying to find him and bring Vash to Knives. So it's not pure anymore, but there still is that personal element to it from Wolfwood there. And especially towards the beginning of their relationship, it was Vash who was keeping Wolfwood at arm's length, and Wolfwood that was trying to get to know him better. Whereas in the show, I feel like Vash is very open to Wolfwood, and it's Wolfwood that's keeping him away. So it just changes up the dynamic of things a little bit. I'm just wondering how they're going to reintroduce him into this mix when you can't do it the same way the source material did it. He gonna remember anything? How is he gonna react? Okay, he's just not reacting. Got it.
ずっとそんな感じだ、エリクスは。ずっとエリクス?
Yes, I would like to hear some explaining. How did he end up all the way out here? Oh, man.
記憶がないようだ。無理もない。チュライでひどい目にあったんだろうからな。ありがとう。ありがとう。ねえ、ホッパードさん、どうしてエリクスなの?
Yeah, that name Eric's, we never get an explanation for it. I personally think that it's a mistranslation of Alex. Alex was Rem's husband, boyfriend, partner, something. Alex was important to Rem, and when he died, she was going through it, and that's part of what caused her to go into Project Seeds. But Vash would have heard about Alex, and so it makes sense that he would use that as a fake name. So I always just thought that Eric's was a mistranslation of Alex, because if you portion it out into phonetic syllables the way that Japanese works, the only real difference is the first vowel. Erikusu. Arekusu. So I fully believe that Eric's was meant to be Alex all along, and the English translators maybe just weren't paying attention? Maybe just weren't making that connection? I don't know. He's in such a state. What is gonna snap him out of this? What if you play the piano with him? Oh, word? That seems abrupt and drastic. Okay, I'm getting a good look at this piece now. It's not an exact peacemaker, but it's very clearly inspired by one. I don't know what you call this, but this sort of like undercarriage. That can't be right. But the undercarriage of the barrel is different. Okay, well, that seems like crazy measures to take. And I don't really think that that would work unless Hopper thinks somehow Vash has been like faking this whole time and can just choose to snap out of it. I don't know. This is just not making a ton of sense to me to have that abrupt of a change in his demeanor and his attitude towards Vash and to drag an innocent girl into it. If, for example, he didn't know that Vash was who he had on his hands, and then Jessica comes in and reveals it to him, then that would make sense to me. But the previous episode really made it seem like he knew. Unless they give me a whole lot more context or something to trigger that switch in him, that doesn't make a whole lot of sense. This is not to say that every single part of your story needs to be explained away and that you can never have a plot hole or never leave people to make their own conclusions. But when it comes to a character's motivation, especially making some kind of complete opposite switch, some kind of like heel turn or face turn, there's got to be a good reason or like a plausible, sensical reason for that. This poor woman. We never get a name for her. Because she was left outside in a garbage heap. I wonder if she was a slave. Unless I'm reading into this too much, I do feel that the implication is that she was possibly a sex slave. And that's making me wonder if they're going to go that route with Legato. Dismal as it is, it's making me kind of hopeful that they'll go there. Bottom of the Dark. That's the name of a chapter from Volume 4. Here he comes. Instead of him and Wolfwood rescuing Lena from the gang, it's this instead. Don't know. I don't know if I'm convinced. I don't know if I like it. What is the point of this? Also, I just think that's so silly. If you had someone in a catatonic state, threatening them and like beating them is not going to bring them out of it. That just makes no sense to me. Like, do you mean to tell me that he was just taking care of Ash all this time in the hopes that he would get better so he could then fight him and kill him? Because that seems silly. If he truly wanted to kill him, why care for him for 2 years? Just kill him. It's contrived. Unless this is all just a ploy to get his reflexes to kick in. And wake him up, but I'm doubting it. It's tough because I really liked what they were doing with the setup here, with Hopper taking care of Vash. I don't think I like this execution. Like I said earlier, I thought that they would make it so that he finds out that Eric's is Vash, and then that's what causes the switch in him. But they made it seem like he knew the whole time. What I thought would happen is that Vash would leave with Jessica and Hopper would see him go, and then somebody comes up, I don't know who it would be, one of the gung-ho guns working on behalf of Knives, would come up and be like, hey, aren't you tired of being nice? Don't you just want to go ape? Join my organization. You're strong. You're powerful. Join my organization. We're devoted to getting revenge on Vash the Stampede. Like, he lets Eric's go with Jessica and then just starts feeling all kinds of weird and conflicted about it. And that's when someone approaches him. And then, with like the devil whispering in his ear, he's like, you know what? You're right. I should have killed him when I had the chance. And then they have a confrontation later when Vash is back to being Vash, and Hopper shows up with Mid Valley like he did in the manga. They're like a little 2-man team. And Vash is like, wait a minute, you're Hopper. You were taking care of me. And Hopper is like, yeah, I was. And I regret doing that. And I want to kill you now because of what you took from me. Does that not make 10 times more sense? Orange, hire me. The moon like an eye. Always watching. Anyway, I'm curious to hear y'all's thoughts on this. Were you a little bit baffled, like I was? Don't make him do this in front of Jessica. Be so for real. Wow, I don't care for that shit at all. I don't like that. I really don't like that. Wow. Making Vash kill, I mean, not directly, but like kill indirectly again? How horrible. Vash's finger wasn't even on the trigger. How would Hopper force him to fire the gun? Allow me to consult the ancient texts. This makes Hopper so much crueler than he was in the manga. He died putting up a fight against Legato. For most of this fight against Hopper, Vash was going angel mode and was unable to control what was going on, freaking out, and Hopper was forced to, by coming in contact with Vash's feathers, relive the July incident because Vash was reliving it. Then a bunch of other people show up. The situation gets in this crazy Mexican standoff, 5-way, whatever. And Hopper dies putting up a fight against Legato and the other gung-ho guns. And if I remember correctly, it's Legato using Mid-Valley's corpse to shoot Hopper that ultimately kills him. And then Vash regains himself in time to give Hopper a send-off and to hold his hand while Hopper dies. And it was beautiful. And as he dies, that's when Hopper tasks Vash to live and suffer. This is such a far cry from all of that. Forcing Vash to shoot him in front of this little girl, or rather shooting himself. It wasn't Vash that did that. What the hell? I'm actually really pissed off at this. Don't know, man. That's Knife's piano solo. That started as their duet. This is a different version of it now. This is Vash's version. That underlying bass pattern that wasn't there before. Is this when Wolfwood gets hit by a truck? Hit him on purpose. Take a razor scooter to his ankles. Maybe then he'll get some pants that fit. Who is reporting that they've seen him? Hey, watch, eyes on the road, girl. Well, I did get to see him. I won't be ending up on the news because I didn't get my Wolfwood fix. I will be ending up on the news for other reasons. Alright, this week's concept art. We got Wandering the Desert, the lift that takes you to the home ship, Inside Home, the cryosleep chamber, knives, possibly an old knives concept art. It looks like it. He looks planty. What's his face? The puppet master, yeah. Chapter 3, Memento Mori. Okay. Well, something about that just felt so off. Vash didn't react as he should to what just happened. When he, in Trimax, was remembering all the suffering he caused and going through all this stuff with Hoppard, gosh, he was just a mess. Like, I've never seen him crying like that before. It was insane. Like, just sobbing, could barely even stand up. He doesn't even react. The pacifist Vash should be having the worst time of his life right now. And it feels really weird. I know it should be a huge thing. I should be feeling such a weight on me that Hopper did that and used Vash's hand to kill himself. But it just feels off. I don't feel that weight. It doesn't hit like it should because Hoppard's character felt very inconsistent, and this version of Vash, we're not familiar enough with his ideology for this to really hit heavily. And okay, we got Wolfwood, but in Trimax, Vash and Wolfwood's relationship carries the whole thing. And this Vash and this Wolfwood don't have the bond, they don't have the chemistry, they don't have the, like, these two guys are inseparable and insane about each other. And so I feel like not having Wolfwood be there or like help bring Vash out of hiding, help bring Vash out of Eric's, like it takes away a lot from the groundwork of their relationship. Okay, and then also this means Hopper is not a gung-ho gun. So we're missing out on the whole 12 apostles thing. Unless we're just taking somebody out of the mix because we have a Lendera who's like the secret 13th one. I don't know. I have noticed it seems like this adaptation is taking out a lot of the biblical references and like overt Christian things, which I don't know. It's not the end of the world, but it leaves kind of a poor taste in my mouth because of how saturated the original material was, where it wasn't just for aesthetics. It really feels like if you take out your main character is a Jesus allegory. Your secondary character is a priest, right? If you take out the Christian elements, you're left with a fundamentally different story. So, I don't know. It's much more of a minor complaint. I don't know. I don't know how to feel. The first episode was like, okay, there's not much happening, but it's like it's mostly set up. It's fine. Second episode made some choices I do not agree with. And it almost feels like a weird pacing issue where like it's like fast and slow at the same time, where it feels like we are spending a lot of time with Hoppard and Eric's, but also Hoppard feels underdeveloped. I don't know, man. I really feel like my tweak could have fixed a lot. Okay, do it this way. Vash as Eric's is slowly coming back into himself by the time that Jessica shows up. Jessica shows up, asks for Vash. Crucially, Hopper doesn't know who Vash is at this point. But even when he finds out who Vash is, he lets Jessica and Vash go. Then Legato or somebody comes and whispers in his ear and is like, hey, join my club. We're getting revenge on Vash. This is the Vash Haters Club. And then Hoppard's like, word, I'm in. This guy killed my family. Goes and joins the Gung-Ho Guns, and then we could have a very similar confrontation with Hoppard here, as was shown in this version of the show. We don't always have to go based off the manga, right? But we have him come back with like Mid-Valley or somebody, and we have the same sort of thing played out, but with more weight to it, with something that makes more sense, with something that doesn't just leave Vash and Jessica sitting there like live slug reaction, you know? It just felt empty. Maybe that's my trouble. Maybe that's the best way I can describe this. Something about it feels empty. Anyway, thanks for watching. Love to hear your thoughts in the comments. Do you disagree? Do you agree? Why? Did you have a similar reaction? Do you have a different take or a similar take? Or I don't know. Tell me. I would like to know. See you next week. I have no idea what we're going to be in for, but I will see you then.